I am going to be on stage talking in front of 600 people.
Oof.
And that is a huge, brave moment for me. And it is something that I know personally is going to stretch me business wise, could be a very big expander. It feels really big for me. The one side of my brain is going, it's just a thing. Don't make it any bigger than it needs to be. But then the other side of me is going, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be up there and there's so many things that could go wrong. And it's just intrinsically kind of scary and nerve wracking to do. And so I'm kind of go between these two feelings, which I think so many of us can relate to, right? Of like in anything, starting a business, running a business, calling a person and
Yeah.
doing this or, whatever it is, you feel like in one regard, I got this. And then the next second you're going, I don't got this.
Hello there. I'm your host, Tiffany Gilleland, an Australian business and mindset coach with 10 years experience in online marketing and the creator of the Business Bravery framework. I help coaches to be brave so you can sign more clients even if you hate marketing and sales feel icky. From signing your next paying clients through to launching that dream group coaching program, the Business Bravery framework helps you to take bigger leaps without the mindset spirals. It's helped my clients double their investment in me, make thousands of dollars, and truly build their dream business. In this episode, I had the pleasure of chatting with Megan Holly of Little Powerhouse Branding, who helps women create businesses that have impact and growth, all while finding ease and confidence within themselves. Her two main vessels for change are photography and coaching. She helps women create standout photography and visuals that stop the scroll and gain engagement for their growing businesses, ultimately bringing their ideal clients closer to the conversion. Beyond beautiful photography that helps the soul of the women she works with sing, she also mentors clients into stronger mindsets, routines, processes, voices, and messaging, and coaches on planning for the bigger picture of growth with an emphasis on finding yourself with time freedom. Megan is also a speaker and podcaster. Her podcast, Taking Flight with Megan Holly, is on all major platforms. She works to bring more self-awareness, self-love, and confidence to all in her communities. All of Megan's work leads to her passion to majorly empower women to step into their power, create a life and business they love, and own themselves in a big way. Megan has been featured in various magazines, collectives, and websites for her branding and empowerment work, which she is humbled by because she finds it so important to inspire others to live boldly, and these have helped her grow her reach. As a creative, family-orientated woman, Megan is passionate about helping everyone find the balance, confidence, and development they deserve. With that said, this is an amazing episode, and I can't wait to share with you Megan's stories of business bravery, past, present, and future. Now, who's ready for some business bravery inspiration? Let's dive in. I'm really excited to be here with the amazing Megan Holly, who I'm just excited to dive into all of her stories of bravery, past, present, and future. Megan, it is amazing to have you here. And yeah, thanks for joining us. And I'm excited to chat with you and just see where we end up today. Tell us about you and your business and who you help, and then like what brave things you're doing. But
Yeah, well, first and foremost, thank you so much, Tiffany, for having me. I know that when I kind of came across you in your world, I was instantly just very much so, felt connected. And so I love what you're doing here. I love the idea of the Business Bravery podcast. And so thank you. First and foremost, for having me. And then a little bit about me. I am Megan Holly. I am so many things in one, human entity. And the big main thing that I resonate with is I'm a creative. And so, as I'm sure will come out in our conversation, that has been a big part of my journey. But what I do and how I help in this world currently is I am a branding photographer and confidence coach. So, I work with predominantly people who identify as women who are out there doing the work that they feel called to doing. So they are building a business, they are building a beautiful community of people. I work with a lot of helpers, healers, creators, and makers. I tend to just kind of attract those type of businesses and people doing work in those fields, which is very cool and something that I love seeing come to life because I do believe that creativity has such a beautiful space in this world. And so, yeah, I love to be able to bring people to life through beautiful photography and imagery and show their story and what makes them different in their business. And then through that, I also then kind of extended out into the coaching side of things because I found that when I was behind the camera with clients in front of me, they were sometimes shying away from certain things. Maybe it was being their, their most bold self. Maybe it was even seeing that they are worthy of being seen. And so the coaching kind of came into play to be able to help bring some of that support where I think we all need it. I know I do as well. I have my own coaches and mentors to help me bring out myself too. So yes, on a little bit more of a personal note, I am a wife. I have 2 dogs that I love very, very much, Osborne and Harlow. They are the things that kind of keep me moving when I want to kind of be a little bit more, introverted. I'll get out there and take walks with them and all the good stuff. I love dancing. I love anything sparkly and colorful. I love DIYing and doing fun projects around the house. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
What an amazing introduction. And I'm so excited to dive into this more with you, especially like from my perspective. My first ever side business was actually in photography. And yeah, and yet I had this whole thing where it's like I had to get brave enough to be on camera. This is well before I ever had the Bravery podcast and everything. And yeah, I had to kind of lead the way by getting on camera myself. And then I was stammering and stuttering and had to go through all of this stuff. And yeah, it's really interesting how being in front of the camera can just bring out so much like fear and fear responses and that fight or flight and or freeze mode and yet it's just this little piece of plastic, guys. Like it's not, I mean,
Right.
sure, there's
Right.
mirrors and things, there's technical stuff in there, whatnot, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
just I find that fascinating and yet completely understandable on another level too. So yeah, I can definitely
totally.
see that confidence coaching being a huge part of it. Because I mean, even just as a photographer doing a session, like you've got to get the person comfortable so you can get the
Yeah.
best shots and things like that. What
Right.
do you find with the confidence side? What do you help people with the most? And yeah, like
Yeah.
give us some tips. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I see is that people, like you said, it is a very kind of, it's almost like you're looking into a mirror when the camera's in front of you. You have no idea what shots are happening, right? Because you can't see physically what is being captured. However, you have this like feeling within you that, oh my gosh, everything's being seen, all of me, all the outward sides of me, which as we know in this society that we live in, we're always trying to hide something or, do this or do that or change things, which I am a big proponent of showing up as you are, who you are, right? So that's one caveat of it for me is helping people to say, let's not hide, right? Let your smile shine. Let your body be whatever your body is at this exact moment, right? We're going to obviously make you feel and look the best version of you, but like be confident in showing up however that is. So that's one side of it. And right, that one's a little bit harder because it's not always something that somebody walks in the room and says, I'm feeling insecure about this or that, right? So you don't always know their insecurities, but sometimes it can be from their mannerisms or maybe their energies. Like you could tell they're kind of like
Mm.
maybe they're fidgeting with something around like a part of their body that they don't like or something like that. So I have to, and I don't really call it out necessarily, but I maybe really work to kind of, you
Yeah.
know, make them feel more comfortable in their own skin without even saying a word about what I'm assuming they're feeling insecure about. And some people will really outwardly just come in and say, oh, I feel so awful at this part or this part. And I'm like, okay, let's like by the end of this session, have you loving yourself a little bit more. And then from the more intrinsic side of it, right? From the human side of it, it is building up the confidence to say it's okay to be seen. I think a lot of us from, many years, of our life of kind of, depending on how we grew up or the people around us or the communities, it's kind of like, well, don't be too big, don't be too bold, don't be too broad in the way that you express yourself, right? Growing up, I was always kind of dubbed as dramatic and like over the top, but it was really that I just had big feelings, right? So I squished them down a lot. And so I'm now just in my late 30s understanding that and letting them come back out, which it's a lot of work, right? So
Yeah.
if I can help anybody to step bigger into the fact that it's okay to be seen, to show your talents, right? Like I said, I work with a lot of healers, makers, creators, and sometimes they want to stay small because it's not as like common as, maybe somebody in real estate or a lawyer, right? To just be really like strong about, this is what I do for a living and this is how I impact the world. So from that side of it, it's helping people to see that their journey, their process, what they make, how they help is important, and that they can step into it and say, you know what, I am so and so, and this is what I do in the world. So that's kind of where the other side of the coaching comes in. And, kind of tying it into the bravery side of things,
Mm.
it's kind of reminding us all that we're almost on the regular doing brave things, in our life and our business. Sometimes we don't register it as brave. And
Yeah.
sometimes being brave is just getting up and making that phone call
Yeah.
to somewhere that we want to work with, or somebody that we want to work with. Sometimes being brave is just getting up in the morning and saying, you know what, I don't know what this day looks like for myself or my business or my family or whatever it is, but I'm going to do my best to see where it takes me. And that's can be an act of bravery. So yeah, that's kind of what it looks like from my perspective of working with others and kind of hoping and helping to see them,
Mm.
see themselves in a new light.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, such amazing and powerful work. And I definitely agree with you on the whole. Sometimes bravery is small, or sometimes bravery is just sort of going, actually, I'm going to say no to this thing, or I'm going to send the awkward email. Like it
Yes.
doesn't have to be like the super big and sexy moves and just like, oh yeah, I'm on a podcast or something, although that's also brave too, but you know what I mean? Like it's just bravery
Absolutely.
comes in all forms. And I think like for me, some of the bravest stuff that I've had to do is really like become my authentic self, because just I have a background as a people pleaser and things like that. Like that was my way of coping and stuff. And yeah, I had to go through like a lot of shifts to work out who I actually was, because I was just so used to making decisions based on what would this person want from me, what would they expect from me, what do I think society expects from me, as opposed to what do I want in this situation and what serves me in this situation. And yeah, it
Yes.
was definitely an interesting road to move through. And it
Yeah.
sounds like you've been doing some similar things like that now. You said like in your late 30s. What's been some eye-opening shifts or perspective changes that you've had through that process for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, it's like, I truly believe that having a business of any scale is its own self-development journey in itself.
Yeah, yeah, 100% agree.
And it's like you don't even realize what you're going to learn or understand about yourself until you're in it. And there's moments where you just have this kind of almost out of body experience of, whoa, I just did that and I never in a million years thought I would have. Or gosh, like you said, a great example, saying no can be a really big act of bravery for, I think, a lot of people, because so many people want to please everybody and do all the things. So when the first few times you do that and you're going, whoa, that was actually kind of empowering to say no. And now I'm standing strong into what I believe or what I want to do more of or less of or whatever. And so I just believe it's a big journey. So anybody out there that's listening who's going, gosh, I just feel like maybe I don't know if I'm on the right path, take a look and see, what have you really done? Kind of take a look at the next last couple of weeks or months or years, however long it's been for you, and just maybe with a fresh view, a fresh perspective, see kind of it in a different lens of, what have I worked on? What have I done? What have I grown to be like or shift within myself? For me, I would say personally, if I'm, there's probably quite a few things I could think about, but the first couple thoughts that pop in my head are, I I guess I would say I kind of cultivated my voice again, if that makes sense. As I
Okay.
kind of alluded to, I felt I was a very shy child and filled with anxiety. And I still struggle with anxiety quite a bit, which it's something that I want to change the stigma on, because when people see me or come across me, especially maybe in social media, they are like, I don't believe that that's even the thing, but I want to change the stigma because anxiety
Yeah.
doesn't look like one thing, right? It looks like
Oh yeah.
so many different things. It
Yeah.
doesn't just look like the person in the corner, curled up in a ball. It's so many of us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's been finding my voice within myself again, which has done a lot of healing for my anxiety. It has done a lot of healing for my shyness. It has also created a new fire within me to help others do the same.
Mm.
And so I think that's kind of what has come from so much of this work that I never expected, right? You're thinking, oh, I'm going to start a business. And, most of us start businesses for a myriad of reasons, but the top ones are, I really love making this, doing this, helping
Mm.
people with that. And then also I have to make an income, right?
Yeah.
And so these two things, we usually marry them together and then we put something out in the world and we try to do it. But the cool thing is we have so much else that we learn. And for me, I think that's one of the biggest things. It's kind of like taking back my voice and then also growing it into a thing that feels really good to me. Like nobody can take it away from me. Nobody can make me shift it unless I have the final say in, you know what, you're right. This does not feel me and I can change it. So it's taking back that power as well in my life, business and personal, right? That I think has come from a lot of this work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. It sounds like it kind of starts with the decision of, you know what, I'm going to take back my voice. I'm going to find my voice. Is that
Yeah.
would you agree? Yeah.
In the beginning, I would actually say not so much, only because I didn't even realize that's what I was needing and craving more of. But now, yes, absolutely. Now that I understand that the bits and pieces of work that I did in the beginning were moving me in this direction, now I see it and I go, okay, I'm being challenged in this moment. I want to feel like I revert back to my am I okay getting everybody's approval self. And that's the challenge to being, nope, I'm still cultivating my voice. And
Yeah.
that doesn't feel like my voice right now. And that's my old self, or that's maybe not even me at all, kind of a thing. But yeah, I think you're right. Like eventually it became
Mm.
that kind of a choice. And I
Yeah.
think for anybody out there who's like, I feel like there's so much more in me, but I'm really kind of like teetering or feeling a little uneasy about how to bring it out differently or what to do to feel like I'm moving in that direction. I would say it's in the mundane things, right? For me, it's something as simple as I kind of made a pact with myself last year. When I'm not out and about with clients, I'm at home working, right? And so it would be very easy for me to just wake up, stay in my jammies and whatever, and just go about my day. But I made a pact with myself about a year ago that at least 2 days out of the week, I would get up. And even if I'm just coming into the office here, I'm
Mm.
going to get up and I'm going to get ready in some way, whatever that means, right? That might mean that I'm just, doing something with my hair or putting a little bit of eye makeup on. And for me, that was kind of this weird little mundane thing that made me feel like me, which
Mhm.
then now looking back like a year, almost a year and a half now later, I see that it was making me feel most myself because I was taking whatever 10 minutes in the morning to say, these clothes make me feel really, really good and comfortable. And like it's showing my personality. And then I felt better when I had interactions, whether it was just an email or a phone call. Right. And so it was like this weird little way of taking back my own power because I'm like, I'm not just going to oh, well, I'm just working from home. Who cares? It mattered to me. And it might look different for other people, but maybe looking at kind of what you do on a regular basis and saying, how can I make sure that I'm feeling my best self? Some other things that I've done too is just have some conversations with the people around me. Like my husband, for instance, right? Just saying, I know that there's more in this world for me, as far as the way I navigate the world, the way that I'm building my business, my relationships, and being open with, hopefully everybody has at least one person you can talk to them about, saying, I know this might sound weird, but I feel like there's more in me and I want to find out what that sounds like. Can you at least be a listening ear for me to
Mhm.
tell you and let you know what I'm feeling or what
Yeah.
I'm feeling maybe that I don't have enough of or support in, or maybe I feel on the outside of it, right? And it's really weird at first, but it's kind of freeing because you then, at least somebody out there in the ether knows that like you feel like you are trying to find yourself.
Mm.
And they might not be the person that, because it's you at the end of the day, like you're the person that can do it. But somebody else knowing in your life just makes you have a little bit of accountability, even if they're not sitting there going, hey, are you being your best version of yourself today? Because I mean, that's not, maybe that could happen, but it's not necessarily the status quo. And I think it's important for us to have those little ways of support.
Mm.
So that would be my two things, find something that makes you feel you and gets excited about cultivating what you look, feel, sound like, and what feels most genuine to you. And then, like, don't be afraid to have people support you in that and understand exactly where you're going so that you feel like it's not just in your head.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that so much. So there's many questions I want to ask about that, but I recognize that we haven't talked about the brave things that you're doing in your business. So I want to make sure that we do that. And if we come back to those other things, if we get time, we will. But I want to know, like, what brave things are you doing in your business, or maybe even in your life, personal development wise? Like you said, business is like the ultimate personal development journey. I completely
Yes.
agree.
It really is. It really is. Over the last handful of years, there's been a lot of things. Some of the bigger ones that come to mind have been simply saying yes to things that I either A, never in a million years thought I would do, or B, I was like, I don't know what this is going to turn out to be like, but I'm going to do it. So a couple of examples of that is, obviously being a brand photographer, you know, I have had some interesting opportunities. And one of them was that somebody was doing a retreat, and they were doing a retreat in Costa Rica. And they were like, I don't really know how this would work, or like if you would even be open to this, but I would love to have somebody come and have some photographs of the retreat. So I have some higher quality, things to use for marketing for future retreats and things like that, not just a bunch of my phone stuff and all this. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what that would look like either. I've never done it. But ultimately, we both said yes. And I said yes to it. And it was like, is this something that I even like? What is this going to be like? And I said yes before thinking about every single little intricacy. And it was very helpful because it made me just go, okay, I know that it's all going to work out and it's going to be great. And together we did. So saying yes to something that was just slightly bigger than what my plan for myself was a really brave thing. And then on that trip, it all was wonderful. I, was able to be kind of half working, half participating, because of course we didn't want, every moment to be photographed of every day. The other thing that came up for me was zip lining, which is a side note, but I never in a million years thought that I would do that because of the anxiety that I have had most of my life. I would say no to things like that because it was outside my comfort zone. I wouldn't think I could do it. I would be worried about having a panic attack or, whatever, all the worries that come with something that is a little bit kind of like out your comfort zone, right? And I said yes to it. And I could have easily, I'm sure my friend who was running the retreat would have been like, that's fine if you can't do it. But I thought, I went into it saying there's no way that I'm saying no to this because it is here. It is in front of me. I know it will be a life-changing experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was. I left behind on the first platform of 9 so much fear. It was an amazing thing. I came out of that feeling refreshed, feeling like I could conquer anything. And obviously, since then, I still have plenty of things that make me stressed out and nervous and all the things, but I come at them with a different kind of thing, right? A different vision, a different kind of armor of going, I know I can do this because I did some things that really scared me. So for me, it's like those big, beautiful yeses that have kind of said, okay, let's do this. Another thing for me that was brave was pivoting a couple of years ago, because as most photographers, I started out doing a lot of the things, right? Children and portraits and weddings and all the things that people would initially think of when they think of a photographer,
Yeah.
birthday sessions, outdoor sessions, all of it.
The
And
senior shoots and all that stuff. Yeah.
yes, yes, exactly. The seniors and all of the things. And while I loved doing that, and I still do, I still hold some space for that work. It's just a lot more compact and not as often. A couple years ago, I realized that my calling was the branding, right? And it was a brave moment of me going, that's what I need to get to. I don't exactly have the answers to what it will look like because I don't know how to get there, right? Because at that time, my income was so heavily like dependent on the other side of it, the portrait side.
Yeah.
So from that side of it, it was very scary to say, well, I'm just going to leave this in the dust, which I didn't just leave it in the dust, right? But in my mind, I'm thinking, if I just stop doing that work, how am
Mm.
I actually going to pay my mortgage, right? That's the
Yeah.
first thought that come into our minds when you
Yeah.
have something that's working and you're going to change it. Like that just
Yeah.
seems crazy, right? To some people. And it was in those moments of going, well, I don't know how that's going to work. I guess it'll be probably day by day, slowly putting more energy into the other side, into the other offerings. And, you know, over time, letting this get change and evolve and this part gets smaller, which is
Yeah.
exactly what happened. But saying yes to myself, because nobody was telling me to do anything, you know, it was just me listening to my gut instinct,
Mm.
has paid off tremendously because like I said, I still do a little bit of portrait work, but it's not what floats my business anymore. It's the branding and coaching. And for anybody out there that maybe is in the middle of a pivot or sees a pivot on the horizon, remind yourself that you don't have to have all the answers because I didn't. And here I am, you know, almost 2 years later after making that conscious choice to start moving in that direction. And I'm okay. I'm safe. You know, there's been learning curves, there's been pitfalls, there's been triumphs, but through it all, it's always been okay. And through those pivots and those changes, when we're just bold enough to be brave, we will always find a way to make something work, you know? And so, yeah, I would say that's the other thing that just comes to mind is that big pivot, because I know people around me thought, are you absolutely losing your mind? Right? This has been working for you. Why would you change it? You know, because I was called to do it differently. And so, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How long did that sort of transformation, that transition, that's probably the better word, take
Yeah.
for you? Because I mean, I've spent kind of years trying to like move out of the service base and to more coaching myself. And then it's
Yeah.
sort of like different phases. It'd be like all of this great service based work would come in and I'd say yes. And now it's less of that because I had to make a decision for me. Yeah. Like how long was that for you? And like
Yeah.
what was that like?
Yeah, that's a great question because I know that that kind of thing is applies to so many people in different ways, right? You know, I'm still slightly at the tail end of the transition, if I'm being honest. Although now looking from, you know, like probably like December and on, it's mainly I'm in this branding and coaching world. There's still a lot of past clients. There's a lot of clientele that have been in my world, right? That I not just gonna like throw in the garbage, you know, sorry, I, you know, cannot support you in any way, shape, or form. So I would say about 2 years. So what are we, 2024? So 2022 is when I kind of made that conscious decision of, I know this is the way I want to go.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to be complete in the next 6 months by any means, but I know that I'll get there. So what started happening was me creating more boundaries around the things that I was doing and how I was doing it. So for instance, for me, it was compartmentalizing my portrait work. So my portrait work became, these are my dates for spring. These are my dates for summer. These are my dates for fall. So anybody who still wanted portrait work from me, whether it was a past client or somebody new that came along because somebody referred or whatever, I would urge them to look at what I already had built in so that I knew that I could still take those clients on, but all the other times of the months and year, I was focusing on building the other side. And I will say it was 2 full years of doing that. And it really worked well because I was just educating my community about how they could best work with me. If you're looking for this type of work, I'm still doing it, but here is how I'm doing it. And then all my focus for everything else, once I kind of set it and forget it, right? Because I kind of did, I mapped out my year of what that side of my business looked like. So then once it was there, it was just making it happen once we were at each juncture. The rest of my energy went to building the new version of the other way I was going. So I would say for anybody who's doing that, it's just really getting clear on like, where do you want to end up? What would be kind of your quintessential perfect landing pad of this new change? And then reverse engineer it, because you can say, okay, what do I have to say no to more? What do I have to maybe not say no to, but do differently or offer differently so that I can slowly segue out? And now, 2 years in, and actually this is the start of the third year in 2024 here. It's just these little tail ends of kind of cleaning up the transformation that has happened and the transitions that have happened. And I still have some space for that as well, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not really spending too much time on it. It's just very compartmentalized.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that sort of perspective. And I really like what you said about the, sort of like plan what you want to do and then work backwards and yeah, re-engineer it. That's not the right words, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. So with that transition, did you ever have moments like of where it's like you had some doubt of like, oh, maybe this isn't going to work, or like did like what you thought as being like doing branding and coaching, like does it look now how you originally thought, or has that evolved as well? That's two different questions, but see how you go. I always want to ask 20 questions and it's
I know.
like,
Well, you know what? There's so much to talk about, right? So for me, it's double. It's like it's a lot of both. And there's been so many times where I have wanted to quit, right? Like this transition can't happen. Like this is especially in the beginning. It was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I doing this? A lot of questioning where I'm going and why. And so, yes, there was plenty of times where I wanted to absolutely jump ship, right? I wanted to jump ship and move along and just go, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to stay where I feel safe, or I'm just going to go get a typical job, and none of it. I'm not going to do any of it anymore, because sometimes when we get into those stress points where we're feeling like we're being like stretched to the max, we are like, I'm not going to do any of it. I'm going to just find a whole different pathway. And when those moments happen, I think it's important to remember that not to quit, to just rest, take a step back, revise your mindset, whatever it is. You don't really mean it a lot of times when you're in those like I quit moments. Most of the time, for me anyways, it's that I haven't taken enough time for myself. I am stuck in this tunnel vision and I haven't taken a moment to breathe. And then when I do that, I go, oh, never mind. It wasn't so bad. It wasn't so scary in the long run. So I think it's really important to analyze those moments as they come up, because it's very much like, just because it was a hard moment or it's not going how I want it to go doesn't mean it's wrong. And so then to move into that second part of the question is, absolutely, there was times when I thought this is looking so much differently than I thought. And I don't know what's going on, but I kind of like it and I'm not mad about it. And then when things would shift and I would be like, this isn't how I envisioned it and it didn't feel well or right, I would say, okay, well, I haven't got that far deep into this. So what do I need to change? And again, for me, like clear is kind and clarity is the route to success, in my opinion. So the more I had those moments of, well, it's looking different and it's not quite how I want it to go, just jotting down or talking out with somebody or whatever your mode of kind of processing is, taking a look at the facts of like, this is what I'm concerned about. What do I need to do differently to either shift it, change it, or delete it altogether? And so it's like going back to that clarity visual for yourself. And I think most of the time, I would say for me, the things that have happened that are unexpected are a lot of times kind of those like perfect surprises that I didn't know I wanted to happen in my business, or connections I didn't know that I needed, and they happen, which is a really cool thing. So yeah, I think it's like expect the unexpected and you'll be okay.
Gosh, I love that. I need to write that down. That's going to be the title of the episode. Expect the unexpected. I love it. It's definitely a whole thing for entrepreneurship for sure. So then tell us a bit about like what you've got coming up Brave-wise, because you talked a bit about some of your Brave stuff and you talked a bit about previous Bravery. What have you got coming up that's Brave in the next 3 to 6 months?
Yeah. This is a really timely question, honestly, for me,
Yeah.
Tiffany, because I am going to be in like, I think, what is it, 3, 4 weeks, going to be on stage talking in front of 600 people.
Oof.
And that is a huge, brave moment for me. And it is something that I know personally is going to stretch me business wise, could be a very big, expander as well. And so, with those two things, at the forefront of it, it feels really big for me. And in one regard, I'm thinking this is, the one side of my brain is going, it's just a thing. It's just it's just this, right?
Yes.
Don't make it any bigger than it needs to be. But then the
Mm.
other side of me is going, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be up there and there's so many things that could go wrong. And it's just intrinsically kind of scary and nerve wracking to do. And so I'm kind of go between these two feelings, which I think so many of us can relate to, right? Of like in anything, starting a business, running a business, calling a person and
Yeah.
doing this, or, whatever it is, you feel like in one regard, you're like, I got this. And then the next second you're going, I don't got this. And so tonight, actually, ironically, I'll be going to my first in-person rehearsal for this event that I'll be at. And there's 9 of us that'll be on stage telling our stories. And so we're going to start getting that momentum of getting to know each other, the whole cast and all of us. And it is very scary. Like I am so nervous about it, but I know that I've been brought to it because I'm okay. I am safe in doing it and I'm capable of doing it. And I think that's what I want more of us to remember, myself
Mm.
included. I have to remind myself of this all the time, is that when something that's stretching us and makes us feel like, why am I at this option? Why am I at this juncture? When it's there, you're meant to do it and you're capable of doing it. And you just
Yeah.
have to allow that yes to
Mm.
say, okay, I've got this, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm at this moment of going, okay, what did I do to myself? Why did I say yes to this? And just taking one day at a time and knowing that the anxiety is going to bubble up and the imposter syndrome is going to sneak in and my brain is going to play tricks on me, but I'm going to keep on keeping it. Just like the zip lining, I had no doubt in the back of my mind, even when I wanted to, run away screaming or,
Yeah.
fall over or pass out. I was like, I am doing this. I can do this. I'm just moving that same experience into this new,
Mm.
new
Yeah.
version of that experience. And so, yeah, I think it's really important to stretch ourselves sometimes. And stretching can be anything. It does not have to be getting on stage and
Mm.
talking to 600 people on a
Mm.
microphone for everybody. But for me, that's where I'm at right now. Lucky me. But I am very blessed at the opportunity to do this because it's going to be a soul stretching situation for me. And I
Yeah.
know that, and it will be beautiful. But, sometimes it's just I have above me, that's why I'm looking up right now, but I have a thing that says exhale discomfort and breathe in ease. And
Oh,
so when we are up against something in our life, our business, our relationships, whatever it is that
yeah.
is challenging us, we have to remember, if we just let some of that discomfort kind
Mm.
of move through us versus stay
Yeah.
stagnant. I'm huge on movement in
Mm.
my
Yeah.
daily life, like moving, whether it's just shaking your arms out, to be able to sit down and focus better, or getting in a cardio workout or taking a walk or whatever. It can move that discomfort out more. And that's what I'm focusing on right now in this
Yeah.
big brave moment of mine.
So what are you going to be talking about on stage? Am I like, is there a little tidbit that we can like know
Yeah.
or yeah.
Yeah, you absolutely
Yeah.
can. So this particular event is based more on kind of our actual life stories.
Hmm.
So I will be kind of and it's very interesting. This has been an interesting experience because we have about 8 to 10 minutes to talk, each of
Mm.
us. And I'm going to be touching on my story with anxiety and my journey with it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how do I put almost 40 years of anxiety and like my journey with it into 8 to 10 minutes? You're thinking how, but I am going to be kind of painting the picture of where I was as a child, which was where it very much started. And my hopes is being very relatable so that people can see themselves within my story.
Mm.
And I had a lot of stress growing up of feeling very heavy and out of body and uncomfortable in my own skin
Mm.
because of my anxiety and so many other things too, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm kind of painting that picture of me as a younger self, and then going into some loss that I had in my life. I lost my dad when I was 10. So that kind of locked and loaded my
Mm.
anxiety story because it was so big that it
Mm.
made me just be like, well, this is why you should be anxious. And this is why you should always feel, which was
Yeah.
not a good way to,
Yeah.
right, to
Mm.
think at the time. So then
Yeah.
I kind of go into how I still was a very overall, happy, vibrant human and whatnot. And so yeah, that's kind of the trajectory of the story. And then on the other side of it is I've come out and I've done so many things that I never thought I would do despite my anxiety and things like that. So that, sharing in the hope that there is a other side of
Mm.
life, even when
Yeah.
you have hardships. And maybe for other people it's not anxiety per se, but other, things
Mm.
that they've come across, in
Yeah.
their health or their upbringing or whatever. So
Mm.
that's my hopes, is that is something that can mirror so many people,
Mm.
people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know you haven't gotten into the details, but like for myself, I too have had decades with anxiety. And I remember like I sat down with a therapist at one point and they were like, "So when was your first panic attack?" And I was like, "I was 7 years old."
Oh,
And it
yes.
was this mind-blowing thing for me to learn that not everybody had anxiety because everyone in my family had anxiety to varying levels. So I just thought that's how people lived.
Yes, that's just how it feels to live, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like to some degree, sometimes the anxiety was helpful because it would like, get me to do things and stuff like that. And
Yes.
yeah, and then like learning, yeah, strategies to perhaps not have as much anxiety. And then for me, with the bravery thing, became this happy accident. I didn't realize that with the bravery thing and actually facing the fears and things like that meant that it didn't get bigger in my head and actually helped with a lot of that too. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And that's a really great way to say it, that it
Mm.
didn't get bigger in your head, because I think
Oh yeah.
when you are in an anxious moment, or you are having just really anything that's taking
Mm.
over your
Yeah.
system, right? Maybe it's
Yeah.
just a worry about like something in your life or your business or your child or whatever. But anytime we let anything just continue rolling and taking over a bigger space, it's going to be very paralyzing, really,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So it feels like, for me, I resonate majorly, because some of my biggest moments of panic or feeling overwhelmed by that feeling inside of my body have happened at very simple moments. Nothing truly was that, it wasn't life threatening or scary.
Mm.
Sometimes it was sitting in a classroom, there was nothing
My God, yeah.
going wrong, right? So when you think about because I wasn't allowing, and many of the time, especially as a kid, I didn't know.
Mm.
I just was like, this is scary. I don't like this feeling, but it keeps happening, right? But think about if I would have had different tools at 10 years old, 7 years old,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
To go, it's getting bigger, it's taking over, but okay, wait, I know what to do, right?
Mm.
So if we all have these different toolboxes
Yeah.
of allowing ourselves to kind of like almost like pop the balloon and let the air come out of that big, monumental, overwhelming feeling, then we can succeed more, right? Whether it's anxiety or whether it's the paralyzation that can come with growing a business or pivoting or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, instead of letting it just balloon up, just like untie the knot of the balloon and just squeak a little bit of it out, and see that you have more clarity than you think you do. And it's
Mm.
okay and it's safe, and you can come down. But, I mean, I feel for anybody who has anxiety because I joke that I would never wish it. I don't have many enemies, but I don't, or any enemies really, but I wouldn't wish it on anybody because it's really, really an awful feeling, whether it's, very situational or taking over your life. Either way, it's very, very
Mm.
hard. So, it's great to have a kindred spirit in you, but also I'm sad that like you also had that experience, you know what I mean? Because it's really, it's hard, but it's beautiful. Like look at what you're doing despite a life of having to figure out what that looks like for you and how to make it be, I don't even want to say be better because there's always like this change and flow with it, but
Yeah.
like work with it in a way that it doesn't take over.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like I kind of just sort of view it as like these are the experiences that have made me stronger, they've made me more empathetic and things like that. And so yeah, like this is how my life became. So I kind of without it. Like, I mean,
True.
yeah, so yeah, I don't tend to be like, oh, I'm sorry this happened because I don't know, like it's just this is life, and it like we have
Yep.
both the positive and the negative, and that's how we can appreciate things, and there's a certain strength in some of that stuff. Back to
Absolutely.
your getting on stage though, that is amazing, and I'm wishing you all the best. I know it's going to be awesome, and
Thank you.
just just from the parts that we've heard today and all of that, I know it'll be awesome. It will be inspiring. You will knock it out of the park. Absolutely, for sure.
Thank you. You're so sweet. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really excited. And I think it's going to be something, it's going to be another brave moment that will lead to more brave moments, right? And it will remind me that I'm alive and it's a beautiful thing to be alive and that really cool opportunities come when you say yes. And I think that's the beautiful thing about it, that we get to do that kind of stuff.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh my gosh, so amazing. This has been an amazing conversation. There's so many more questions that I want to ask, but I will just sort of quickly, before we finish up, just like we're going to have links to all of your stuff in the show notes and everything, but where can people connect with you? How can they find you?
Yeah, so I am in a couple places that people can find me. One of my favorite places to hang out is Instagram. I am there. I am always chatting on stories, sharing fun content, and people can find me there. And my handle is at Megan Holly Creates. And there it's a space for like an outlet of, just us all as women entrepreneurs out there in the world. So come say hi, come say hello. I love supporting other people and hyping them up and all that stuff too. So I will do the same right back to you. And then I'm also on Facebook at Megan Holly Creates. And so those are the two main places I am. If anybody wants to reach out in any other way, my website is littlepowerhousebranding.com. And so there you can just, reach out into any stratosphere. You can email, you can set up a consultation, anything like that. So more than anything, I am just in love with the ability that social media and just the world gives us these days to meet so many people like you, Tiffany. Like I just love that we are nowhere near each other geographically, but we are able to connect and grow and learn from each other. And I think I could go on and on and on about it because I think it's so beautiful that we get to do that and that I can have people around the world that I resonate with, that I love. So yeah, so
Yeah.
come say hello. All that to say, come say hello so I can connect with more people all over the place.
Oh gosh, I love that. And so just before we finish up, is there any like last words or, one thing for people to remember from you or yeah, like
Yeah.
just putting you on the spot with no preparation, something really inspirational. No, sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. I love a challenge to like see what my brain will muster up. So for me, kind of the last thoughts, right? Because we talked so much about kind of saying yes and listening to ourselves. What I want, if nothing else comes from my time here on the mic with you, I would love anybody who's listening to take a moment to just go inward for a moment and see what, like, maybe close your eyes, maybe take a deep breath, maybe, sink down into your favorite chair or take a walk. Some people are better with like a moving kind of meditative state, right? Do something that makes you kind of feel inside your body and ask yourself, what is it that I really want right now, right? And am I taking actions to do it? Is the way that I'm sitting up and standing up and doing each day moving me there or not? And kind of like I said earlier, letting yourself get clear on it. Like if you were like, absolutely not, everything that I'm doing right now is holding me back or doesn't feel like it's going in the right direction, or I'm not taking any action towards it, then like that's your next layer of saying, well, then what small thing, don't have a whole year plan, don't have a 7-page to-do list, pick one small thing that moves you into that vision and do that. And then after you do that one, you're going to start to see that the other things feel a little bit better. And while you're in that quiet mind, give yourself props for what you're doing right now. Whether we jokingly are laughing at, I'm doing none of that, right? Then tell yourself it's okay that you're doing none of that. Maybe that's the season you needed to be in, right? But yeah, that's what was on my heart for some reason, of just going inward, seeing what really is truly calling you to step into, and then getting real with if you are and how you can better move that direction.
Mm. Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so amazing and inspirational. And I love that, getting quiet with yourself. Oh, thank you so much for all of your amazing insights, your stories of bravery. This has been an amazing discussion, and definitely, yeah, it's going to be on my mind for a number of days moving forward. So thank you so much for everything. And yeah, I wish you all the luck with your getting on stage tonight. I definitely want to hear how that goes.
Yes. Stay tuned. Oh my gosh. Well, Tiffany, thank you so much for having me here. Again, I can't thank you enough. I really thrive off of connections like this and just beautiful conversations that with beautiful people like you. So I appreciate you giving this space for so many people to come to and feel safe and heard, myself included. So thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Business Bravery podcast. Has this episode inspired you to do something brave? Even if it's only send a difficult email, please share it with me on Instagram or other social media channels. Feel free to tag me at Tiffany G Studios. That's TIFFANY. G for golf, STUDIOS, no spaces, no underscores, etc. Or you can use the hashtag Business Bravery Podcast so that I can cheer you on, and together we can inspire other coaches and course creators to do brave things in their business and life. Now, I'm Tiffany, and I'll leave you with this one last thing. What's one brave thing you're going to do today? It doesn't have to be big. Even the smallest steps can create the most massive results. So again, feel free to share it with me either publicly or privately so that I can cheer you on. That's it from me. Until next time, bye for now.